Welcome back. Let's get started with the accessory variant. The pocket board is required to play. Words are not removed from the board in this variant and must fit on the board. The first player may place their word anywhere, but is still required to use the first card flipped over at the start of the game. The double letter rule still applies, but in order to represent the second letter, either a token is used or the card is placed in the center of the two spaces. Any cards remaining in the player's hands after making their final word are discarded, to be shuffled and drawn if the deck runs out early and players have fewer than 8 cards in their hand at the start of their final turn. This game is played in 6 rounds for 2 players, 5 rounds for 3 players, 4 rounds for 4 players, 3 rounds for 5 players, and 2 rounds for 6 players. In the crossword variant, players or teams take turns making 10-word crossword puzzles to be solved by their opponents. Starting with the face-up card, the creator uses their hand of 10 cards to make words that fit on the board, out of view from the guesser. Proper nouns and small phrases are encouraged, but foreign languages are optional. The second letter in double letter instances is represented with a token. After the board is populated, the creator makes a list of short clues for the words they made, sorting them in across and down groups and in the order they appear. The cards are turned face down, the board and its list of clues are presented to the guesser, and the timer starts. The guesser is given 2 minutes to solve the puzzle, guessing words in any order and as many times as is necessary. Correctly guessed words are revealed, pausing the timer while turning the cards face up. Incorrect guesses are tallied by the creator. When the solution phase ends, the guesser scores 5 points for every correctly guessed word. The creator scores 5 points from each unsolved word, and steals 3 points from the guesser's score for each incorrect guess. After scoring, the roles swap. The game ends after both players or teams have created and solved one puzzle. The highest scoring player or team wins. In the case of a tie, the player or team that made the least incorrect guesses wins. If a clue is disputed and determined to be misleading or unhelpful after the solution phase ends, the creator does not score points for that word. Players may choose to designate a referee to resolve clue disputes, tally incorrect guesses, and operate the timer. Players may choose to set a time limit on the creation and clue phases. Default timers are 20 minutes for the creation phase and 5 minutes for the clue phase. This game is recommended to be played in teams of 2 or more, to allow for faster puzzle creation, better clue writing and puzzle solving, and to ensure words are spelled correctly. It's highly recommended that this variant be played with 1 copy of CrossCards per team, which cuts playtime greatly by allowing both teams to create their puzzles simultaneously. In the Tug of Words variant, wild cards are removed from the deck before playing. Each player starts with 12 tokens. Each round, players are given 2 minutes to make the highest scoring word using only their hand of 8 cards separately from one another. After time runs out or everyone announces they're ready, players reveal their words. Their scores are tallied on the score sheet, and all cards are discarded to be shuffled for the next round. The player that plays the highest scoring word each round takes a number of tokens from each opponent based on the number of surviving players and eliminated players. For example, in an 11-player game with 6 players remaining, the winner of the round takes 18 tokens from each opponent. In cases where 2 or more players tie in a round, those players evenly divide the round's tokens between themselves, and any remainder is left in the center of the table and given to the winner of the next round. Players that run out of tokens are eliminated. The last surviving player wins. If the game must end before this happens, the player with the most tokens wins. In the case of a tie, the player with the most points from creating words wins. Before the game begins, players may choose to apply an overall time limit of their preference. Players may also choose to allow eliminated players to continue playing if they wish. Eliminated players that win a round are restored to surviving player status, the elimination track is updated, and surviving players give them the number of tokens shown on the chart for the start of that round. Eliminated players must win the round to return to surviving status. Tying with a surviving player is not enough. Players may choose to start with more than 12 tokens, as long as they're evenly distributed to each player. Tournament mode. The host of the tournament decides which dictionary to use, and whether 3-minute turn timers will be used. Misspelling words ends turns, and no optional words are allowed. Tournaments can be played in solo and pairs divisions. The standard format is to play 5 round-robin style games and place the top 8 players or teams into brackets for a single elimination finale. Finalists are determined by factoring wins and overall points scored. Tournaments with 8 or fewer players or teams skip the bracketing portion, moving directly to the top 2 players or teams facing off in the final match. CrossCards can also be used as a D20 RPG item. Wild cards are removed from the deck by default, but the Game Master may choose to leave them in. These cards may perform a magical action of the user's choosing. The character may look through and select as many cards from the deck as they like to craft their incantation in common. The more detailed and specific, the more likely the ritual will manifest what is truly desired. But each card used in the spell is consumed, making future rituals more challenging to bend to the user's whims, growing more intensely powerful and chaotic as the deck dwindles. If 6 or fewer cards remain, they crumble into dust once the previous ritual is complete. When the character is ready, they lay the cards upon a flat surface or the ground in order, while visualizing the intended outcome. Prayer to one's chosen deity and chanting may assist the ritual to become what is envisioned. The player rolls a D20 when performing the ritual, and the game master delivers an outcome based on the number of words created, the number of cards in the deck before the ritual took place, how specific and descriptive the words are, the complexity of the character's desires, and other role-playing factors. If the player rolls the required number to perform the ritual, the result may be good enough, but not exactly what was imagined when being cast unless the request is basic. The request could also be outside the realm of possibilities, to be determined by the game master. The closer to 20 the player rolls, the more successfully the ritual meets their needs. Rolling under the designated number could mean that the ritual fizzled, or unforeseen consequences could arise from an unclear ritual. The power of the deck near its end is more likely to overfulfill a success and cause greater harm or other setbacks if the skill check has failed. Here are 2 optional rules for the standard game that weren't mentioned in the original video. 3-word rule. Players may choose to allow a 3rd word to remain in play. Players decide which of the 2 words not being connected to is removed from play, as long as its removal doesn't leave a word disconnected from the others. Showdown start. At the start of the game, each player is given 2 minutes to make the highest scoring word using only the right side up letter from the face-up card on the table and the cards in their hand. The player with the most points plays their word first, and their score is logged. The player to their left connects their word to the face-up card and scores their points. Remaining players score no points from the showdown and decide to keep or discard the cards they used and redrawing before playing their turns, starting with the player to the left of player 2. Here's a little detail about the game itself. All 94 letter combinations are unique, pairing common letters with less frequent ones, and ensuring that vowels are never combined so players have a very slim chance of being unable to make a word. Letter combinations appear in the top left corner, making it easy to know what's in your hand when being held. The prototype version of the pocket board is a 12 by 12 grid, but the final product may be larger. As you can see, covering the unused letter makes the board less visually cluttered and easier to understand. And holding the cards in place allows the game to move to face the current player. While using the pocket board in a standard game or tournaments, the perimeter of the board is not a boundary. Players are allowed to reposition existing words to fit new words on the board. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for updates on CrossCards and other games.